Owners meet. Fresh legal battle continues on neck meeting. That's what you find right there boldly in the front page of the Punch for this morning. You also find page of the Punch this morning on your dam. Operators under pressure over rising boat demands in flooded communities. Also right there of residents of some of these areas on the boat, but this time around it's not a cruise because yes, they're trying to escape from the impact or trying to go by the impact of the flood that has affected some communities right there in Ogun State. But still in the Punch newspaper for this morning, above the nameplate you find Naira for crude. Dangote gets NNPCL's first supply. That's on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. LG autonomy. FG plans sanctions against the 14 states. What form of sanction would that be? You check the Punch newspaper for that story. Nigeria still borrowing amid high debt costs. That's coming from the IMF. You also find spent night in FCID female cell. Charlie, you're laughing.
Yeah, yes, it's funny. On a television broadcast, we saw the EFCC, trying to the probing that is on by the National Assembly, and they went to the correctional facility to ask, okay, was it a man or you understand, or a woman? When you checked and decided it's a man, so now that he's in female cell, I don't understand.
All right, the controversies continue, but of course you find that read in the Punch panel set up by the federal government on whether or not Bobrisky had spent time in prison. That report came back and said, look, there are no evidences to say that he was outside of the prison. So, but a lot of Nigerians are still questioning what more. What more effort are we
actually enjoyed some
unravel
privileges
some of
there.
the issues that have been raised concerning the time spent by that by Bobrisky. FG bans cooking exports over rising prices. And you also find 250 billion naira debt. Telcos seek NCC approval to stop bank transfer services. And right here, newspaper, right here at home, Ondo State, find Ondo Gov poll. That's like the countdown to the November 16 governorship election in Ondo State. But look at the statistics here. 55,000 is collected. INEC extends exercise to LGs. You also find here, no improved infrastructure since LP's exit. That's coming from Ebishiri, the governorship candidate of November 16 election. From the Punch this morning.
The Punch newspaper, let's check the leadership. On leadership this morning, we have this. We're monitoring Gov of Guinea over illicit arms, says the National Security Advisor. You have details of that on page 8 of the leadership this morning. The court declares CP governors expected neck and Asak Damagun, I beg your pardon. You find details of that on page 12 of the leadership this morning. We lost 181 in gigawatt tanker explosion, says Governor Namadi. Details of the explosions and the victims so far is on this morning. Governors divided over suit challenging EFCC's legality. Imo, Bauchi, Osun, Taraba joint case. Anambra, Adamawa, Ebonyi withdraw. Judgment. Okay, details of that. That's on page 4 of the leadership this morning. So on the leadership, we have this. Leave FCT roads, wicked ones, beggars. You find details of that on page 14 of the leadership this morning. If the FCT ministers should not stay alternative place to stay or something, to meet their daily needs at least. All right, details of that you'll find maybe on page 14 of the leadership this morning. And on page 25 of the leadership, IMF downgrades Nigeria's 2024 growth forecast to 3%. And have 19 die in plateau auto crash. That's a very sad one there. The leadership this morning.
Telegraph paper and the New Telegraph front page has this headline: consequential adjustments. Only 40,000 added. 70,000 beggars. Better and in-house from each of different that's coming from Lola. Constitution
Party drags to court over neck meet. Put the defendants 170% revenue growth in 8 years to close at 85 billion naira by year end. Thus, projects 120 billion naira IJR in 2025. Well, you find details of that on page 13 of the Nigerian Tribune. Federal government investigating Gulf of Guinea as major route for arms trafficking, says the National Security Advisor. You find details of that on page 5 of Nigerian Tribune. Also on page 26 of Nigerian Tribune is a story of the numbers of victims of the Jigawa tanker explosion. This one on page 30, bill seeking creation of 2 states from Oyo State passes second reading in reps. Court sacks Kano Electoral Commission chairman, members 4 days to local government polls. Details of that is on page 4 of Nigerian Tribune. After serving 5-year jail term, Farouk Lawan regains freedom. That's on page 4 of Nigerian Tribune. On page 27, 5 NAF officers, 15 others die in Plateau auto crash. That's a sad one there. Alleged drug deal. Senate draws battle line with NDLA. Summons agency before ad hoc committee. Injury to one is injury to all, says Senate President. Details of that is on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And finally, from the Nigerian Tribune is the story. Supreme Court reserves judgment in 19 states suit challenging constitutionality of EFCC and others. Right? Anambra Adamawa Ebonyi withdraws from the suit. This is on page 5 of Nigerian Tribune.
From the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, The Guardian is next here, and in the front page of The Guardian newspaper, painting more picture of what it is like right there in Ogun State, particularly communities and areas being affected by the overflow of the Oyo Dam. Yes, you find the picture of students, making their way down to schools and canoes. You also find some of the residents of the area also trying to, make their movement. That canoe, looking at the flood situation right there in Ogun State. Students and residents travel via canoe in Olaoshebikan community. That's in Mile 12 area of Lagos State, and after the release of water from Oyo Dam. So it's like a twin situation. Some communities in Ogun State are also being affected by this. And you also find this one in the Mile 12 area of Lagos also being affected. But aside that, in the front page of The Guardian newspaper, you find FG seeks IMF's help as flooding, oil output crisis dampen outlook. You also find here in The Guardian, lost billions, why government's youth empowerment efforts are failing. Want to know why? And perhaps the billions of naira spent on trying to empower youths, and look at what the figures are also telling us at this time. The rate of employment and unemployment in the country. You check that story in The Guardian newspaper. Discos, planned meter phase out may worsen Nigeria's 7 million gap as FCC PC intervenes. TCN urges calm as 40 cable throws north into darkness. You also find here Nigeria others may lose $10.5 trillion to to cybercrime next year. You also find here frequent grid collapse, worsen business outlook. FG ASU, can public universities afford another shutdown? That's a big question. Definitely, students cannot or would not want that situation to happen. AGF debunks 3 months grace on enforcement of LG autonomy. That's it from the Guardian newspaper. You check that and more in the Guardian for today.
From the Vanguard, on end great collapses threaten survival of businesses. That's according to OPS. You find this is over on page 5 of the Vanguard this morning as call for full privatization of power sector. It hinders economic growth, says NECA. Frustrating for manufacturers, says MAN. Mere infrastructure upgrades insufficient. Full privatization needed, says NASEMA, and reduces competitiveness of Nigerian businesses, APSCON says. Alright, details of that is on page 5. On page 5, you to get the different perspectives of these organizations. And on page 9, Labour demands oath to frequent petrol price increase. Others. And we have a 5% excise tax. Yes, telcos will soon die like Nitel, MTN, says CEO Toriola warns. And we have Nigeria requires purposeful leadership of food security for growth, says ex-deputy governors. Right, you find details of that on page 4 of the Vanguard this morning. Nigeria has disappointed Africa, the black race, says the former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. The details of that you find on page 8 of the Vanguard this morning. That will be all from the Vanguard this morning. Let's take some sporting stories as we call it.
Before we head to sport, perhaps we check the Ope newspaper. The front page of the Ope newspaper says, Ayeda to coastal communities will keep ocean surge at bay. Says people want continuation of our good works. And that's part of what you find at the front page of the Ope newspaper for today. You'll find the picture of the governor and some members of the All Progressives Congress right there. The campaign trail to the SL, the local government area of Ondo State. That's ahead of the November 16th governorship election. But let's go the way of sports now, and the Punch Sport Extra is right here with us. And the one you find boldly in the front page of the Punch Sport Extra says, botched AFCON qualifier. CAF decides Nigerians anticipate grave consequences for Libya as Continental Football Body announces verdict today. So let's see what that verdict will be from CAF. You also find here in the front page of the Punch Sport Extra, Osimhen's overhead kick close to breaking Ronaldo's record. You also find here United, Chelsea monitoring Rolo contra talks, and Bayern rival PSG for Rashford. Volleyball, NAF Rockets, Delta Queens win Division 1. Interesting career path now for former football star, or he's also a football star, but he's trying to make a way for himself in the world of tennis, and that's Diego Forlan. Forlan to make ATP tennis debut. That's also in the Punch Sport Extra. So you check that and more sporting story.
Alright, that will be all from the newspaper's headlines for this morning. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, you will join us in the conversation of what Nigeria has to do. From the newspaper's headlines, we read Nigeria has disappointed Africa and the black race, a statement made by the former president of the country. But what must Nigeria do, to redeem its glory? Stay with us. Don't go away.
Leadership is not a package where you take it and say, here it is, I give you the package. Leadership comes from what you do, how you do it, how you live, what have you acquired in terms of your training, your experience, your track record, and all that. And what I'm saying is that the young people must strive. They shouldn't expect it to be a parcel delivered by DHL to them. And they must know that nothing comes just for nothing. You work for it.
Glad to know you're still with us on AM today. Yes, just as we promised before we went to that break, that when we return, we'll be taking a look at the country. And today we're looking at it from the angle of national identity. Yes, our focus is national identity projects and matters arising. To discuss this with us this morning is Mr. James Ajayi Adekunle, the State Director, National Retention Agency. It's nice to have you, Jonas.
Good morning.
Let me say it's nice to have you again because the other time we were talking about Nigeria and the conclusion was that people, there are certain values that we've lost as a country. And there's this saying that if you don't know who you are, you might not know what is expected of you. So far, how do we bring Nigeria back, to that giant of Africa that it is?
Thank you so very much. We all know, in Nigeria, there is this loss of values. There is loss of, in fact, we have lost our values for long. And if we look at the bulk of the problems we are facing in this country, they can all be traced to this issue of values. And that's why you will see a single individual who will dip hands into government coffers and pocket billions of naira, and it will go scot-free. All of this boils down to values. It is also instructive to discover that even today, parents will aid and abet examination malpractice instead of countering it. They are the ones that even encourage their children to go cheating in examination. Some will even go to the extent of buying certificates for their children. All of these, they have never been part of us, but we have allowed them to come in. This is really, really, denting the image of the country and moving the country, backward instead of the nation going forward. And so, now look at it. For how long are we going to continue this way? We cannot continue this way and expect that things will, look the way we actually want them to look. In the past we have we as an agency, we have come up with a number of interventions. Like there was a time we used to say, "Change begins with me." And then the slogan. There was a time we also say that we should transform Nigeria by, behaving in a particular way. But all these things have really not worked because certain things were not put in place.
All right. Your organization, that is the National Orientation Agency, recently launched the National Identity Project to promote unity, patriotism, and all of that among Nigerians. With this, what's changed? Are you projected to see? What are you adding to it? Because you said the previous ones didn't work. So, how do you think this is going to work?
Now, this time around, we are focusing now on building Nigerians themselves in order to build Nigeria. And that is why we need to know who we are. We need to build our own identity. And so the question now that National Orientation Agency is asking every Nigerian is, are you a real Nigerian? Who is a real Nigerian? Who is the real Nigerian? Now, we have our values. We have our values. They're even there entrenched in the Constitution. We have them: integrity, discipline, hard work, and all of that. These are things we were known for. But today, we have eroded those things. Now, the question is, a real Nigerian, should a real Nigerian be somebody that lacks integrity? Should a real Nigerian be somebody who will cut corners to get to the top or to achieve anything in life? No. And so we need to define who we are. And that's why we are now talking about the National Identity Project. And the crux of that matter is the fact that we are coming up with what we call National Value Charter. National Value Charter is more or less a social contract between Nigeria as a nation and the citizens. It is an agreement, a sort of agreement between the nation and the citizens. That is, the nation is making a promise that, look, I am going to do this for the citizens. And in return, the citizens also are expected to do this, to the nation, so that it will not only be that of the citizens. Now, anybody that is in government, any party that is in government, will have to key into it and sustain that which the nation is supposed to do for the citizens. And we have 7 of them. We call the first set the Nigerian Promise. The Nigerian Promise has 7 items in it. That is, Nigeria is going to do these 7 things for its citizens. And in return, Nigerian citizens also will perform certain roles, which we call Citizens Code. So they will perform 7 things also in the nation. So when you have the nation doing 7, the citizens doing 7, that's why we call it 7 for 7.
Can we get the details of the 7 for 7? The 7 for the government?
We are coming there. We are coming there. Now, it does not stop there. I told you the former interventions did not really make impact. Why? Because something was missing. And what was missing is the fact that there were no established institutions to drive them. But this time around, we are now creating some 7 platforms through which this can be achieved. And that's why we now say 7 for 7 and 7. That is, nation does 7 for the citizens does 7 for the nation, and using 7 platforms to achieve that. So now, when we are talking about the Nigerian Promise, Nigeria is promising the citizens 7 items. Number 1, equality. That is, every citizen is equal. We are all equal before the law. So there is none that is bigger than the other in the face of the law. And then the next one is democracy. Democracy must be sustained. That is our system of government. That is what we have, the system of government that we have, adopted for ourselves. And every citizen should and must also participate in this in the democratic process. All of us should have equal opportunity of, aspiring to political positions, and we're all, nobody should deny anybody access to voting rights and other civic duties under the democratic dispensation. The other one is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, that the government have to create the enabling environment for people, to use their God-given abilities, talents, to eat a living for themselves. The government should provide that enabling environment. And also peace is the next one. Peace. Government should at all times ensure that there is peace in the land. Of course, security is one of those things that can engender peace. So government must ensure that there is security, life and property at all times. Everybody should, be encouraged to live in peace with one another. Then inclusivity. Everybody should have equal access to whatever is happening, whatever the nation has to give to the citizens. No, whether you are a Muslim, you are a Christian, you are from the north, you are from the south, you are from the east, whether you are a woman, you are a man, you are a youth, whatever category you belong to in this nation, every one of us should be included in, enjoying whatever benefit the nation has for all of us. And the other one is freedom. We should be, the government should give us free hands, to aspire to be whatever we want to be under the law. So we should be able to become anything that we intend to be under the law. That is freedom of speech, freedom of association, and all of that as entrenched in the Constitution. Now, the next one is meritocracy, which is the seventh one. That is, the nation must ensure that merit is what is, not man knows man or God-fatherism. I don't know somebody there, so I can't be there. No, that one should not be. Everybody, so long as you are qualified for it, you should get it. So that is, those are the seven promises that Nigeria is making to the citizens.
So, so Nigeria has made a promise, looking at all of the things you've mentioned. So you were about mentioning what the citizen would also have to do in return. So perhaps we have that.
All right. So in return, the Citizens Code entails the fact that every citizen should maintain the character of discipline. We should all be disciplined in all of our endeavors. That is, what is not, there was a time there was a time in the military era when the president came up with a war against indiscipline. All right, that was during the military. But now we are civilian. We are no longer fighting wars. It is no longer a wartime. But then we will still have to entrench discipline. So all of us, we should come to terms with, living disciplined kind of life. And also, we have the duty of care. That's the second one, duty of care. I care for you, you care for me. Sometimes I saw a clip. I saw a clip online. There was a tanker. The tanker fell. All right, and there was this accident. The tanker fell on a bus, and a lot of people died. Some were injured, lying, trying to begging for help. But the people came, instead of them to help these people that were still alive, they went to scoop oil from the spill. That is completely out of it. It shouldn't be. We should be our brother's keeper. Ordinarily, one would expect that they should go for those that are still alive and save them. But what do you have? The values eroded. So what are we saying? We should be our brother's keeper, and that is a duty of care. So we owe ourselves and we owe the nation the duty of care. Then tolerance, we should tolerate one another, no matter whether we belong to whatever political affiliation, or we belong to whatever ethnic affiliation, or we belong to whatever religious affiliation. What matters is we should tolerate one another. What you like does not necessarily mean I should like it. What I like, it doesn't necessarily mean you should like it, but you should tolerate me for whom I am. So that is. Then the other one is leadership. Leadership. Every Nigerian, once you find yourself in a position of leadership at whatever level, whether micro level, medium level, or at the higher level, at whatever level you find yourself, lead the people very well and demonstrate what we call servant leadership, inclusive leadership, accountable leadership. And then that brings us to the issue of accountability. One thing that has seriously been missing, in our polity is the fact that our leaders are not normally held accountable for, what they do. So, but we need to be accountable to the people that we say we are leading, to the people we say we are serving. We should serve them and, be accountable to them. And the other one is environmental awareness. Environmental awareness. We should be aware of what is happening around us. The nature that God has given us, we should be able to preserve and not destroy. Look at deforestation all over the place, and these things are affecting us in return. We are fighting nature, nature is fighting us back. So we should be very careful with our environment. Also, the seventh one is resilience. Resilience. No matter what is happening. Now, Nigerians are known for resilience. Everywhere in the world, Nigerians are known for smartness. But unfortunately, that smartness is often deployed negatively. And that is why internationally, a lot of people out there in the international world, they see Nigerians as fraudsters, corrupt people, and things like that. But that is not who we are. That is not who we are. We are resilient. We can face situations, we can endure situations, we can confront situations, and we can solve problems.
All right, perhaps we now, since you've given us all of the 7 for 7 by 7, and of course what it entails, perhaps we'll now bring this conversation into beat, because a lot of Nigerians who are watching at this time say, fantastic vision, fantastic code, but they also ask the questions. How far-reaching were the consultations even before we arrived at this code, at this charter? Because when you mentioned that previous engagements that we've had to try and change the narrative of the country failed. So for this charter, how far-reaching the government go before coming up with say, look, we have a 7 for 7 agenda which we are hoping to also drive. And I will also ask, has that implementation also commenced or is still in the works?
Okay. Thank you very much. As soon as the current Director General of National Orientation Agency, Malam Isa Larionilu, came on board in October last year, he set the ball rolling. And the first thing he had to do is bring together, heads, people, from different walks of life, brought them together, and of course with government involvement, to carefully look at the situation on ground, and then how do we solve this problem? Where do we go from here? And that's why these people down there now came together and came up with this value charter thing, and of course presented to the federal government, and graciously, even the Federal Executive Council has graciously approved of these things. And in case you don't know, right now, the first verse of the national anthem is now sung at all our meetings, all meetings. And then when we have special programs like the Democracy Day and things like that. They sing the 3 stanzas. And then the 3rd stanza has been approved as the national prayer. National prayer to be said, at every occasion. FEC has approved that. And also, FEC has approved the fact that every government appointee or elected official must go through the value charter training from time to time. It's going to be an ongoing thing. They must all go through it as soon as they are coming in. And it will not stop there. Even along the line, they will also be having the training. So don't be surprised when you hear Ondo State National Orientation Agency, bringing the State Assembly people together and, talking to them about this. So it is something that will go across. It's not going to go to the people alone. Even the people in government will be discussing with every strata of the society.
I'm imagining that this is a contract, so you called it social contract, and a lot of persons will say, how do we ensure that this does not eventually become a mere rhetoric? Because when you look at some of the promises that have been made, and I'm looking at a quote that says broken promises are usually etched in the hearts, like forever. So if you have citizens, maybe perhaps also having to play their part, and in one way or the other, some of these promises, they're not fulfilled. You're talking about meritocracy on the angle of government. A lot of Nigerians will say, can we really have that? How do we even have that? So in terms of ensuring that the terms of this contract, 7 codes, are kept, what happens if there is a breach? And how is NOA also going to ensure that these terms of contracts are really kept? Is NOA empowered in a way to ensure that this is kept by both sides, by the government, by the people?
Now, I want us to do something. That this value charter is work in progress. It is work in progress. Now, as the implementation goes on, of course, there will be, NOAA specializes in giving the people, telling the people about government programs, projects, and activities, and also bringing feedback to the government. So, as we are generating feedback to the government, of course, there will always be room for, re-examining issues, reading the system, and things like that. But I can assure you that value charter has come to stay. For years to come, it will remain there.
All right. As much as we hope that it gets estranged in the minds of citizens and government alike, but these codes, do you also have some codes for anybody who breaks all the citizens? Are there consequences? Because if there are no consequences, we might not be making a headway.
Interestingly, as we speak now, bills are being prepared to go to the National Assembly to strengthen the value charter. Bills are being prepared now, and of course, when they become law, for every law, there's always a punishment. So you can expect that to come.
All right. One thing I want us to bring at is you talked about inclusivity. Inclusivity. You talked about tolerance and all of that. And one issue that Nigeria has been trying to sweep under the carpet, or that we are using our cultural bias to always push away, is this issue of LGBTs. They say, are you talking about inclusiveness? Where is there inclusiveness? When in Nigeria we don't even consider them to be in existence. And in real fact, we have them. Is Noah looking at probably persuading government or something to look at the LGBTs?
You and I will agree that as far as Nigeria is concerned, that is not allowed by law in Nigeria. It is not allowed by law in Nigeria, and so Nigeria will not even look in that direction for now.
For now, okay, but you're on the field. You're on the field. As you do your work on the field, do you see the how will I put it now? Do you see that these people truly are in Nigeria? Just that by law, yes, we do not consider them to be, to be in existence. What's the young ones, toll in this part?
Now, you and I, we know that definitely that has never been part of us. This, see, uh, we talk about our values being eroded. These are some of the outcomes of the erosion we are talking about. And what we are trying to do right now is to, revitalize those values that we have always been known for. These are strange values. And, not even talked about the other 7.
Oh, you will talk about them, right? Let's
Now-
discuss the ones
now,
that we've
now,
talked
because
about.
this one, there's a link between this and
Okay.
some of those things, like one thing we are working on right now is to, ensure that we have the Nigerian value content in our cartoons, in our movies, and things like that. You see, such that our cartoons will now, reflect our values. So for a long time, Nigerians have been raising foreigners in their own bedroom. How do I mean? Our children, we expose them to all manners of cartoons, all these foreign cartoons with their foreign values and foreign cultures, and they have helped to, destroy our own values. Now, you see, the children born from the, let's say, the mid 80s up to this time, the ones we call the Gen Zs and the millennials, they are cut off from those core values that we were known for. So they now imbibe all manners of strange values, and that is where this we are talking about is coming from. So we want to rewrite the whole story now, take us back to where we are coming from. Let us be who we are.
All right. One other thing I want us to look at from the points that you have raised earlier, is this issue of Nigeria's scooping fuel, from broken down tankers or the ones that have accidents. Recently in Jigawa, we as of this morning, they said, they already have casualties of 181 people dead as a result, and many are suffering different, varying degrees of injuries. And on social media, in the news, we hear people saying, no, it's not doing enough to dissuade people from this act. We keep having the recurrent incidents of people trying to scoop fuel from broken tankers. Do you see that as your assignment
That is
to orientate Nigerians?
the mindset, and that is exactly part of what we are working on. That is exactly part of what we are working on. So, nobody with the right kind of mindset will see such a thing. And you know the danger in it. And you go for it. And over the years, a lot of people have died as a result of this kind of attitude. It is a very, very wrong attitude. So what we are doing right now is an attitudinal reorientation, so that in future, when such things happen, when there is a tanker issue, nobody will even venture to go there once the right mindset has been created in the heart of every one of us. That is where we are going.
So perhaps, Director, you give us the other leg of the 7 that you were about mentioning.
Okay.
So that this goes home.
Okay. Now, to ensure and to be sure that this 7 for 7 thing succeeds, we have 7 legs that we are going to really drive to make sure we get to where we are going, and it affects both those in government and those that are being led. Now, the first one is that we want to nationalize our cartoon and movie content. We want to nationalize them such that it is a Nigerian content that will be there. It will be in most of our films, our movies. In fact, we are looking at, in the next few years, having about 70% of our cartoon content, talking about Nigeria. I'm talking about the right values.
And the realities here.
Yeah. So it's going to start very, very soon. In fact, it has even started because we have some clips that we can, begin to deploy to the people. And then the second one is citizenship studies in our schools. Citizenship studies in our schools. I remember when I was in school, we used to have a subject called civics.
They still have it. They still have it in secondary schools.
Civics. Now it's just reintroduced. There was a time they removed it completely from the curriculum. Now they just reintroduced it. We want to strengthen it now. And the civics we are going to be, talking about now is going to have a lot of this value content. A lot of this value content will go into it in primary schools, in our secondary schools, and part of it also in the tertiary institutions. And that's it. Then the third one is we'll be having citizen brigades. Citizen brigades all over the country now. Remember, in those days, we used to have boys brigade, girls guide, manual, scouts, and like that. And these were, little institutions that were meant to, breed future leaders, to strengthen values in them. And it worked then. But somehow along the line, they just, they killed those institutions. But Noah wants to bring them back again. This time around, we'll call them Citizens Brigade in all our schools. For a start, we will be having about 37,000 brigades nationwide. That is 1,000 in each state, including Federal Capital Territory. So we have 1,000 brigades in our primary, secondary schools for a start. And from there, we expand until we cover the entire landscape. So these people, they will help us, it will help to catch these children young. And to also help in that direction, the Y Brigade of old is now going to be rechristened to become National Value Charter Brigades. So they will now help in, driving this particular aspect of the project. And then also, we're going to be having orientation for government officials. I think I mentioned that before. So every government official, whether elected or appointed, they will all go through the value charter training and indoctrination to ensure that every government official imbibes these value charter codes we're talking about. After all, those that are in government, they are citizens of the country also. They are citizens, and so they too, they are part of those that are to be disciplined, those that are to be honest. So they are all part of it. So if all of us should toe that path, I think Nigeria will become what we want her to be.
All right. These brigades, will it be a paid assignment or a non-for-profit?
Oh, the brigade is definitely going to be more of a voluntary organization, though maybe with little stipend. It's not going to be
For them to carry out their assignment?
I mean, it's not going to be this. Their assignment is just to help raise these children, and it's not going to be a permanent job. But they will be. In fact, they themselves, they will be happy that they are doing something of that nature. Just like the White Brigade, you see, they are still around. Nobody pays them, but they are still doing it.
So for all of these initiatives, one would also want to know what sort of measurements will be put in place to check the outcomes, or to check the impact at every level of the stage. Is it a quarterly review that NOAA will be doing? What sort of review mechanism will NOAA be placing to see how far this will be working?
Now, in NOA, we are report writers. We write reports every now and then. Daily reports, weekly reports, bi-weekly reports, monthly reports, like that. We write. So all these things are going to a particular place where these things are being reviewed, where data are being collected. And of course, the presidency is aware of what is happening at any point in time. When there is need to go this way or to change direction, of course, government knows what to do. And when it's time for us to bring about any change in tactics, we definitely go for it.
Okay. Well, as you're going to be going about this, are you foreseeing potential resistance, limitations? Are you kind of projecting into what these limitations could be or resistance, and how are you planning to surmount that?
You know, one thing that is so difficult for man to adjust to is change. But again, whether we like it or not, change is a constant. Life goes on, changing from one direction to the other. Life is not static, and so change is universal. But people will always love to resist change, and I can assure you, as we speak right now, we are already on the field, and we are already getting feelers. So, people are saying, is this the next thing? When food is sold for so and so, when things are like this, like that, is this the next thing? But yes, we have to start from somewhere. We have to start recalibrating the nation from somewhere.
What do you tell them, those who ask that question, that is this the next thing? Really?
Good. We let them know that it is true we are facing this situation right now. In the first place, what has brought us to this situation? Our values. So if we repair our values, this situation will go.
We don't have corrupt elements or some of cabals who sat on the subsidy money for a long time that made Nigerians.
Now you are getting it. I said it the other time that a single individual will dip hands into the coffers of government and pocket billions of naira. Does that make sense? So, but that is where we are, and we must begin to change the narrative. This is just the starting point. We are going to, we are going further.
Okay, which of the sects do you think will be most effective, when they get it right? Is it the leadership or the citizens? Because sometimes citizens will say, we're doing our bits, but we're not getting anything done by the government. The government seems to be untouchable, they just hide there.
Now one thing that is going to begin to happen is that NOAA will ensure that the elected officials, they will now come back home and begin to give accounts of their stewardship.
How will NOAA ensure that?
When I was a field officer, I remember way back in the days of Papa De Farah T in 2001 or thereabouts. I personally, organized a stewardship and accountability forum then at Osrc, and all politicians representing the whole of that place, they were there. The hall was filled with people, and come and see questions. The people were asking questions, and they were answering. So where they do well, they will hail them. Where they have not done well, they mark them down. It's just like that. So we are bringing it back again. So the people must be, the leaders must be held accountable for their offices.
It's very clear that the task that NOAA is embarking on, it's not going to be a one-man show. It's not just going to be the agency, because we talk about a review of some sort in the curriculum, in civic education. We talk about having clubs in schools, and this tells us that it's going to be multi-sectoral in terms of the collaboration. How far are you cementing that already at this time?
That collaboration is going to be very massive. It's going to be massive.
It is one thing that NOAA is willing. It is another thing that whoever he wants to collaborate with is also willing.
In fact, they don't have any. They will be willing.
Okay.
Yeah, they will be willing. Right? We are talking about the education now. The educational curriculum. Definitely, the Ministry of Education is into it. The Ministry of Education is into it. We'll be talking about technology. Like right now, NOAA is using a lot of technology, to drive its activities right now. Like as we are speaking right now, we have a website that operates like an artificial intelligence. Just go there, ask that AI any question, will bring everything down for you. So, and on our social media platforms, we're all over the place.
All right. So, as you said, you have some 7, that are going to drive the agenda or the points. I hope that community leaders and religious leaders are one of those 7.
As soon as I leave the studio now, I'm going to Ijigba community. I'm going to interact with the Ijigba community at the Palace of the Ijigba. That's where we are going as soon as I leave this place now. So we have started it. We are engaging with different spheres, people of different spheres of life.
All right. Perhaps we now, pedal back to what opened this conversation on who that Nigerian should be, who is a Nigerian, because these are times that you also find some persons looking at, is it good to be a Nigerian? When you look at all of the promises, all of the requirements, and all of the tasks that NOAA is backing on to change the narrative, to create a Nigeria of our dream, who is a Nigerian, or who should a Nigerian be? Perhaps you tell our people.
Very good. Now, the real Nigerian is somebody who is disciplined. The real Nigerian is somebody who has integrity, who will not negotiate, who will not, compromise on his or her integrity. Somebody who is corrupt in the office. No, that is not the Nigerian spirit. That fellow is not a real Nigerian. A real Nigerian is tolerant of the other person. The real Nigerian is resilient. No matter what confronts us, the real Nigerian will stand his or her ground and solve problems.
The real Nigerian will stand her grounds and solve problems. What are there any slogans you want Nigerians?
Oh yes, now like I said at the beginning of the conversation, I said we are building Nigerians to build Nigeria. That is the new slogan now.
Will you be part of that? The Nigerians that are going to be built to build that Nigeria, to build our Nigeria.
Very safe to say, build yourself to build Nigeria. All right, that should be all on AN today. This morning is been a nice time, charting the course for a better Nigeria. And discussing this with us this morning has been Mr. James Ajayi Adekunle, the State Director, National Orientation Agency for Ondo State. It was nice having you, and we hope that you make success of this project, that it would be like the former ones. Anyway, that we have better stories to tell.
And particularly also getting the information out there at every step of the way, because it's a two-way approach. You have the citizens, you have the government, and the media is also at the center of the engagement. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is where we draw the curtain on the show for this morning from Said.
Yes, my name is Sahid Arabi Salah, but the question you will take away from here is, are you a Nigerian? Enjoy the rest of the Wednesday.
All right, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, but remember, build yourself to build Nigeria. My name is Bola Shadi Gideon saying, enjoy the rest of your day.